Hi, I'm Patrice Rice, CEO and founder of Patrice and Associates. I've been asked many times about my journey as to where I am today and how I got here and what I went through to get here. So I have a story. Everybody has a story. My story starts a long time ago. I've always been entrepreneurial. I lived on the water, and at the time there was something called the investment tax credit, where you could take 10% of the cost of your boat, write it off, and then you could rent it out. Just like renting a car, you could charter the boat, end up writing the whole thing off and owning the boat. I lived on the water, and I wanted to keep the boat at my own pier. I live in the Annapolis area, which is traditionally a sailboat area. I had a power boat. I like going in straight lines. So when I wanted to keep it at my own pier, nobody would let me do that. So, of course, I decided I needed to do that myself. So I thought I would talk to other boat owners who may want to do the same thing with their power boats and charter them out and keep them at their own pier. So I started advertising and talking to people and started a fleet of powerboat charter boats. Then I started attracting people that didn't have their own pier. I ended up with 6 boats at my pier and got to the point where I couldn't keep them anymore, couldn't take on anymore, moved to a marina, had a fleet of 26 power boats that I managed. I would give sea trials to make sure people could handle these boats, back it into that slip. And I would have people say to me, little girl, it was a long time ago, little girl, what are you doing and telling me that I have to prove myself to you? So I decided to get my captain's license to give validity to the business, and it turns out I was the first woman captain on the Chesapeake Bay. Back then, there was no such thing as corporate entertaining on luxury yachts in the Baltimore Inner Harbor. So I purchased a 75-foot Trumpy and then started attracting other luxury yacht boat owners who wanted to create income from their boats. And I started corporate entertaining on luxury yachts. We'd give my own boat shows. Had a lot of catering on the boats, and it was a very, very nice addition to the Baltimore Inner Harbor. But then I realized I was giving away too much money in catering, so I purchased the Marina Restaurant. We would take the boats down to Fort Lauderdale in the wintertime. It was a really fun time, but then the real gas crunch came in the late 70s when we sat in line for gas. I had a powerboat fleet. It was very expensive. So the charter boat business went away. The marriage went away. It's like, okay, what am I going to do now? So I went to a local agency and said, what do you have for me, a boat captain? Obviously, he had nothing, so he recruited me to recruit for him. And I started my recruiting career on a sales desk and an IT desk, recruiting in both of those professions. I ended up managing his office, and there came a time when he could not tell me when he was going to pay me. He owed me $5,400. That was a lot of money. My attorney said just because he broke the non-compete didn't mean I could break the non-compete. So I had to wait a year to start recruiting. If you're an entrepreneur, you understand that you don't give up on your dream, that you do what it takes to make it happen. So I had to figure out how I was going to survive for that year. So I wrote a book on how to interview. And the very first laser color printer came out, the HP 1200C. And I wrote a very unique 2-color resume. And I went around to all of the agencies in Baltimore and said, look, your recruiters are spending a whole lot of time writing resumes and teaching people how to interview for free. Send them to me. And they did. And so I was teaching classes on how to interview and writing resumes for $40. And gel nails first came out back then, the original forms. And so I learned how to do that, and I would go to people's houses at night for $35 and do their nails. And I did whatever I had to do to survive that year. So I got through that year, and I started my own recruiting agency in what I knew, IT and sales. And I had 4 recruiters come to work out of the basement of my house. And then there was a day that changed my life. Back then, there was no such thing called the internet. We had fax machines. And the big innovation was broadcasting, where you would punch in your numbers at night, go to bed, and it would send out all these faxes. I got a call one day from another agency in Maryland and said, I see you work with sales managers. Do you do splits? I did at the time, sure. Have you ever made a sales call on a sales manager? They said, no. So I spent about 20 minutes telling them how to do that. And I said, so what do you do? They said, oh, we work with Bob Evans. They made 40 hires from us last year, and they paid us $2,000 per hire. Great. Okay, good luck with the salesperson. I leave, and I pick up the phone, and I call Bob Evans, of course. You know, Bob Evans ended up paying me $3,000 per hire, made over 1,000 hires from me. And that's how I found out this industry used agencies. I had no clue. This industry is a recruiter's dream. It's just most people don't ever know that are in my organization because they've never recruited before. In any other recruiting business, you're going to make 80 calls a day. And 70% of those are calls looking for jobs to fill. And the rest of the calls are looking for people to fill those jobs. We never have to look for jobs to fill because we have so many clients and so many jobs. So I started my own agency in this industry now, specializing in this niche market. I ended up with 40 recruiters that worked for me all over the country. And recruiters come and recruiters go, and they were virtual, which was difficult. You didn't even know them very well. And so I realized I was giving away an instant business. You know, if you're going to go into real estate, you're going to pay for the class. You're going to take the test. You're going to align yourself with a brokerage house. You're going to work there for 2 years, sitting there on your phone days. You're going to pay for your own advertising. You're going to pay to put the flyers in mailboxes of nice neighborhoods in hopes to find a buyer or a seller. Well, when I started franchising, I already had all these signed agreements. So when I started franchising and my franchisees come on board, we already have clients that they can work with from day one. And the reason I started franchising is because when I had all of these recruiters all over the place, all over the country, you know, there was no commitment from them. I even charged them $3,500 to come work for me on straight commission and get themselves to Atlanta, where my training facility was at the time. It was like they put it on a credit card and they would still walk away. So it was clear to me I wasn't attracting the right kind of people. I wanted more business-minded people. And those people want two things. They want to own something and they want to make more money. And that's when I started franchising. And now what my franchisees want, first of all, is fast cash flow. And that's what we have because of the clients, because I ran the business for 20 years. So when I started franchising, companies like the Cheesecake Factory and Cracker Barrel and Ruby Tuesdays and TGI Fridays and Panera Bread and Arby's and Burger King were all my clients. So we are faster to cash flow than anybody else because we have the clients. So now during this time, I also owned a pet store for 10 years, and I did dog training, and I've done very big animal lover. I've raised birds. I have raised puppies, hand-fed parrots, owned 2 monkeys. So I'm a big animal lover, you know, love animals, love dogs, have 4 dogs now, actually. So now that once I started franchising, you know, I have taken my mission statement, which says recruiting is not all about money, it's about helping people, to my franchisees. I would say 90% of my franchisees are first-time business owners and never recruited, never been in the hospitality industry. And that's okay, because we're committed to your success. You know, we are committed to helping people find jobs, and now we take that same mission statement to be committed to your success. So as throughout this journey, now we have over 100 franchisees. As of about 3 months ago, early in 2017, we are now in Canada, and we're expanding into Canada, and then we'll be moving into other English and Spanish-speaking countries. So that's kind of where I've been, how I got here, and where I am today. I'm looking forward to the journey. The journey will not stop, and I look forward to being part of this organization for a very long time.